everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. We have a very special guest in the house tonight, somebody I wanted to get on the show for a while, and he was so gracious and generous to join us. Let me introduce you to Mr. Chad Bird. Hi, Chad.
Hey, folks.
All right. So Chad's done a lot of things in the treasure hunting community. He's not only has his treasure hunt, which we'll talk about later, but he's very supportive of the treasure hunt community. He's always there. He's helping out and all that stuff. And overall, a really great guy. So I really wanted to just introduce you to him and get to know him better for myself as well.
Nice.
So Chad, first I wanted to talk to you about, because I have relatives in Australia, and I've heard that you go out there and do some stuff out there. So I want to hear a little bit more about that stuff you do.
So my primary source of income, or revenue stream, if you will, is I worked for an engineering firm for 15 years. I graduated with a design degree, but then I went to work for this engineering firm that did dairy, specialized in dairies. And, long story short, I just really fell in love with the industry. And in 2017, kind of broke out on my own. Still did some independent work for them, still do independent work for them when they need some mechanical, electrical, plumbing stuff. But right now, I've been working on my own projects for like the last 3 years. 4 years has really kind of taken some legs, and currently working on 4 different dairies in Australia. In Australia, there's around 6,000 dairymen, and only 1% have their cows in efficient housing or efficient milking patterns. And, I can go on and on about the actual dairy part of it. But so what's happened is I've been contracted to help kind of lead them toward the future, Well, when I say the future, I mean, I would say that around there, probably most dairymen in Australia, probably around the 70s, maybe 60s, 70s, like with how we farmed in America as far as dairy cows go. And so, like I said, so many of them are land rich because of what happened post the war. That they have a lot of land, and so they have a lot of cows, but they don't have any, the way that the whole financing side worked, they weren't really ever able, up until the last 10 years, able to really get financing on buildings, believe it or not. Just, it's weird. Sorry, my dog is barking.
Oh, that's all right.
But now, since that's kind of opened up, more and more of them are looking to, more commercialize their dairy farming, right?
Yeah.
And so, anyways, back at it. So just trying to help the dairymen over there, have a more efficient farming with regard to dairy farms. So, yeah, it's been pretty cool. Going back over in May.
Oh, nice.
I'll be engaging with an event called Raise the Roof, which is something they do every other year. And so, so we're a gold sponsor there this year. So yeah, it's going to be awesome to meet even more Australian, some Aussies, some Kiwis even, some Tasmanian fellows even,
Yeah. That sounds really exciting. How did you learn? What made you decide to go to Australia?
Well, they reached out to me.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. So that's how it normally works. Like, right. So in our industry, people find out your heritage, if you will, and they start picking your brain, and they realize, hey, this is a good match for us, and so we're going to move forward. And so we've been trucking along for the last 2 years, 2.5 years over there. It's pretty strange because there are a lot of, excuse me, there's a lot of governmental issues. It's not like America where, it's capitalism, right? That's still managed as a commonwealth. So lots of hoops.
Yeah. Well, we'll shift gears a little bit, since you're doing so much to help them out there, and you also do a lot to help here. And I don't think I mentioned before, but your treasure hunt is free.
Oh yeah, correct.
Free to join. Yeah. So where did it all start? When did you come up with this idea? And when did that happen? Yeah. Start from the beginning,
Yeah. Well, I think, as a kid, I've always loved treasure hunting.
Hmm.
Okay. I think a lot of us in this age group love it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I actually think a lot of people love treasure hunting, to be honest with you. Or else, Mr. Gates would have never been so popular, right? You know what I
Right.
mean? So I never really thought, okay, hey, I can go do, quote unquote, big hunt. For one, I didn't I've kind of restarted like twice in life. Sort of, it's kind of weird, like what's happened to me, but it's okay.
Mhm.
I'm not going to get too into the weeds on the personal stuff, but in the end, I've always enjoyed the idea of treasure hunting. I used to make my mom, treasure maps whenever I was a kid for her
Sure.
Christmas presents. I mean, anybody who knows me knows that I love treasure hunting.
Yeah.
This is not a shocking thing to people, right? Because I always talk about all kinds of treasure hunts, from
Hmm.
forest fins to even older hunts like the Swan Lake hunt and
Hmm.
so forth and so on. And then when Forrest when Forrest passed away and his hunt was found just a few months prior to him passing away, I thought, man, well, that's a daggum shame, and I was kind of, to be honest with you, I was a little torn by it all, and didn't know, yeah, I didn't really know what I wanted. I didn't really, okay, I thought, okay, well, that's the end, right? I think a lot of
Hmm.
us kind of thought that just for a little bit, like, man, that kind of stinks, that's the end. And then I'd say about 6 months, 7 months later, going into 21, um, I realized I want to do this,
Yeah.
and I contemplated a lot on like who Forrest was to me. Like
Hmm.
I understand there's probably a lot of background with Forrest, like with other people, other entities, all these things. I don't even care about that. Who was he to me? Who was
Right.
he? A guy who spent, hundreds of hours listening to him, read his books, and, was encouraged by him actually, like was intrigued that, hey, um, yeah, you can be yourself really, and people are going to be, because he was very much himself always, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I realized that what he did was he took parts of himself that meant a lot to him, and he, in his case, stuck them in a chest, and put a little bit of the clues in a book, along with the poem, and never really thought. I don't think that he ever really thought the hunt was ever be what it became. To be honest, that's my opinion. I know that it did become more than what he expected, and he shifted gears with his,
Yeah.
the way he talked about the hunt, even, like, oh yeah, I designed it for the good old boy, in the truck. I think that was a later thought, which he was not wrong. It's not wrong with
Yeah.
that thought. I'm just saying that that's to me a later thought, and I may have later thoughts on mine even. But what I really believe the basis of his hunt was, and who he was, and why he did it, was because he thought he was dying, so he wanted to give pieces of himself away for someone to find in the future. Whoever that finder was, they would then forever be connected to Forrest,
Yeah.
because of it. And he never took advantage of people in the sense of like, oh, hey, you know what, you're desperate for something, so I want to get a little piece of that desperation, so pay me XYZ dollars,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you can fulfill your desperation for just XYZ dollars, you know what I mean? Yeah, sure, he had a book that you could buy, but that didn't matter really, in the end. Honestly, it might have, but it really didn't. And he gave all that money away to charity, so he didn't
Yeah.
do it for any sort of personal gain reason, right? He literally did it to give things away, to give a part of himself away. So I kind of had that realization in 21, like, man, at the time I was playing a lot of poker too. Um, and I met some really interesting people, kind of like come in my life over the last 4 or 5 years, maybe 6 years. And they've just really encouraged me on, kind of expanding my thought, kind of expanding who I am, and being a little more not so shrouded, you know what I mean? So like not just being open to the energies that are around us, even, you know. I do tell people that I am a Christian. I really do believe in that faith. I'm very much a believer in a Messiah that I believe is the Messiah, which is Jesus Christ. But I also believe like there's a lot of other interesting things out there, right, that feed into us, you know, that are out there in the world. And, you know, so yeah, so these people were just like really kind of pouring into me through 2020 during COVID was a really hard time for me. You know, we had a construction business, and I had 4.5 houses basically on the ground when COVID hit. One of our contractors died, and 2x4s went from $268 to like $11 overnight. And so, I mean, we literally lost $400,000 that year. So actual money and actual cost. And so it was just a time like to really reflect on like, okay, what legacy am I leaving? What am I really leaving? You know what I mean? Like, you know, you build these businesses, and sure, maybe they're successful or whatever, and you're doing successful things, but what for? Like, what, you know, what does it even matter if you haven't left something of yourself that really meant something to you for somebody else? Now, some people can say, well, I give that to my kids, I give that to my spouse. And I agree with that. I'm not saying that everyone has to go hide a treasure in order to have value or to feel value. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying, for me, like, I really thought it was awesome what Forrest did. And I wanted to, you know, kind of emulate that, right? He gave me the example. Let me turn the slide down. Maybe that'll help. Yep. Let me warm that up a little bit. There we go. So he gave me an example of hey, man, you know, this is what you can do to really, you know, impact someone else. I mean, and impact not only someone else, but potentially a whole lot of people. So what I wanted to do was like, okay, well, as I gave this more thought, I was like, all right, well, I don't want to do a book and poem, you know, because that means somebody's buying something and whatever else. I thought, well, you know, how can I really make it personal? Because I feel like Forrest made his personal by telling all of his stories in his books, right? Even though he didn't profit from it, he gave the money away. But the point is you could still find out about his stories from his books, right? You know, because surely he had to know that, you know, content creators would start covering it, and obviously he did over time, you know, from Moby Dick's on, you know what I mean? So he knew this would be a thing. And he wrote us a couple more books even after that, you know, to enlighten upon him. But in the end, I didn't want to do the book poem thing. I wanted to do something that was unique to me, right? So I'm basically taking, you know, the searcher on a journey through my life, right? So we kind of start somewhere, excuse me, somewhere in, you know, 85, 86-ish, you know, and that's a level 1. That's the theme of level 1 almost. And as we progress, you know, the game, the levels, which are all online, right? So
I'll put a link in the description to all your Discord and your YouTube and everything.
So what I was going to say though is, you know, really what Treasure Quest is a real world hunt that you find the puzzles and the riddles online with. You know what I mean? So like, you know, John's and Justin's even, for example, you know, theirs is a real world hunt, but it's in their book. You know, it's not really online per se. You know what I mean? So all the pages of my book, if you will always be online. And if you would, you know, really where they need to go first is treasurequestsecrets.com.
Okay.
Because that's where the game is compiled and will be compiled from here on out. From level 3 on though, once you become a player in a game, you won't leave that domain. So basically from level 3 on, you know, one reason why I did level 2 and level 1 the way I did them was because I built my first 2 houses, literally myself and three other helpers. Now, I mean, I didn't wire it, and I did plumb some of it, but I built it, right? And so I wanted to build. That was another thing that was personal to me. I wanted to build these first two levels of the game, right? So these are all thoughts that I'm having as I go through, into 21, and then I really make my mind, and I pull out a sketchbook and I start sketching out what I want to do and the kind of puzzles that I want, and the little hidden things that I think people really enjoy finding. Now, I'll say you don't need to know any of the hidden things with regard to, the code or even some of the Easter eggs. But I do think the further you go into it, the better chance you have of actually finding the real world trove. And so you have to develop this out over time in your mind, right? And so it's not like you can just like, okay, I'm going to go do a treasure hunt and then do it the next month. That's just,
right, yeah.
Doesn't work that way, right? And so then you got to go. Then what you have to do, Eric, this is really important. This is probably the most important part of the hunt. You got to figure out where you're going to hide.
Yeah, I was going to get to that, but really quick, it's really important that to me at least, that you said, it all started with, you hear this term a lot, the origin story, right?
Yeah.
And me being new to this, and when I say new to it, I've always been adventurous at heart. I grew up in the same time frame as you have. When I grew up, we didn't have big parks or anything. I lived in Gary, Indiana, right? Unincorporated part. And we had the woods by our house, and we put our backpacks on, put a couple snacks in there, and try to get lost.
Yep.
And these woods weren't like pristine. These were dumping grounds for contractors that put roofers would put their stuff out there. You'd see abandoned cars, and it smelled like death sometimes, to be honest.
It's perfect building material.
But it was adventure. And, I thought about also when you said when Forest Treasure ended, how you felt, and it seemed to get pretty emotional about it. And I could see that because, this channel, we're covering John Collins Black Treasure Inside. We exclusively stick with that. And I've dedicated a large part of my life to it. And I'm just preparing myself for when it's over.
Yeah. Well, a large part of your life has only been a year.
Right. The large part of that year, right? A lot of the time, I should say,
Yeah, that's right. Of this year.
So I can only imagine what it was like for you, right?
Well, and it probably wasn't as devastating for me as it was even for people who were featured like in Golden Greed, for example.
Oh, yeah, right.
I don't ever try to put myself on that level. I just was thinking, as I gave it thought, hey, that's a guy that I think I could potentially emulate. I've come to realize that I'm an interesting person who has a pretty wild background. Like, I tell people all the time, like if you've ever met a Forrest Gump, bro, you met him in me, like seriously, I'm literally the guy who just steps in it and just like, oh, okay, we're doing this now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, God's always been good like that to me, man. I'm just like anybody else. I have my struggles and I have my, my own problems, and so did Forrest, right? So, I don't like people man worshiping per se. I'm not real big into that. But I'll tell you that, yeah, it shifted something in my mind when that happened. I was like, man, that's such a shame that's ended. We need to make something close to that I feel like is kind of like, it's a total different kind of hunt though, right? It's like all online. You find these clues and these riddles online to then piece together to go real world,
Mm-hmm.
And it's a pretty in-depth puzzle. I would say that most people, there's probably honestly about 80 solid hunters right now for this trove, about 80. I would say there's 35 dedicated Erics.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
So, and this is only about month 5. I was always real big into not promoting it like from a publishing agent or anything like that.
Sure.
Having some kind of clearinghouse for, you know, my communications or anything. I was always going to, it was just going to be me. Like, right now I can communicate a lot because, you know, there aren't as many hunters for it or searchers, if you will. Now with Forrest, he, you know, I think he communicated like this at first too, and then as time went on, communicated less and less and less. And that might be what happens with me. It's probably going to be, it'll be probably the result, right, as we go into it years. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, because, you know, I do have, you know, other things that I have to get done, work wise and time wise and so forth and so on. But, I didn't, you know, I'm not ever going to be, I'm not ever going to abandon, you know, the community, you know, until someone finds the primary trove.
Yeah.
And because in the end, like the game itself is like I tell people, you know, I have to be the NPC. In
Yeah.
designing this game is like, you know, I have to be the NPC, the curator, and the creator, right? Because you know, no one can really know, no one else but me, no one else besides myself can know where it's at, right? Or else it wouldn't be a secret,
Right.
you know. So I have to play the game really with them, right, in a lot of ways and a lot of times because you know, I will be that, you know, that innkeeper you check in with. I will be, you know, the guy who you have to ask how many chickens you need or whatever else. um you know, but in the end, we, you know, I wanted to make something that was purely mine that really had never been done before. I'll get emails from people and be like, man, you know, this is crap or you know, whatever, this, that, and the other. I'm like, okay, well that's fine. You had to play. Like, I mean,
Right. It's
okay.
free.
I'm not only not it's not just about free, it's just like um yeah, I don't think anybody really realizes how hard it is to make.
Oh, I couldn't imagine.
To
And
do.
I'm going to get into that when I talk about some of your things on there because I was really blown away by the stuff you have on there.
So, you know, I mean, I appreciate the criticism. I mean, I like I tell people, this is a living game. The players actually change the game as the game moves forward. You know, if a piece moves onto the board is forced to change. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
So as the pieces move on, um, you know, and I would consider some of these pieces to be like archetypes, if you will, you know, and yeah, so I get if people don't like it, if they don't want to play it, that's fine. I mean, it's okay with me if they don't like it. Yeah, I really don't.
Sure.
I'm not looking for anybody's approval, I guess is what I'm saying,
Right.
you know? So, you know, everybody's welcome to play though, you know? On that note, I also tell people like, you know, I have, several people who email me and are like real desperate, you know, like,
Yeah.
man, this is my last chance to find anything. This is my last opportunity to help my kids or something like this. And your kids are definitely not something you want to leverage against with me because I've done
Right.
everything in the world to you know, support mine to this day even. And I just tell those folks, hey man, you know, probably treasure hunting is not probably right for you because
Yeah.
you know the chances of anybody finding it, being the finder, better said, is a fraction of a percent.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, you know,
Yeah.
you dedicated so much time to JCB, but how much time can you go boots on the ground? How much time can you actually, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe you're a week late, you
Yep.
know, I mean, there were people who were within 200 feet where, you know, Forrest's trove was,
Yeah.
supposedly was. So,
Yeah. I mean, there's more to it than a treasure hunt. I think than just if you're going into a treasure hunt just for the monetary, then then I wouldn't wait. I would put that equal energy into something else.
I
Right.
agree.
You're gonna, it's like people that play lottery, right? Let me rephrase that. I don't get people upset. People that do it as a sole way of making money, right? Yeah, it's fun entertainment. You either spend X amount of dollars on a lottery ticket or X amount of dollars at a movie. In the end, you still don't have anything to show other than your feelings, right?
Exactly.
And that's really what's important about it. But if if you're going into a treasure hunt just to make money, then you're going to be really disappointed.
Correct. And I think that's something people really need to realize. And again, I don't want to be on a soapbox and tell you what to do, what you can and can't do. Like, that's not my job. Sure. I would just encourage you not to, because you're going to be disappointed. I mean, ultimately, right? And another strange thing about those people that oftentimes email that exact email, right? I mean, it might be worded differently, but that's the meaning of it, right? Hey, I'm desperate. Hey, tell me where it's at. I'm desperate. You're going to save my life, this, that, and the other. Right. That theme. There are also the people who are not putting energy into it.
Yeah.
Right. There are also the people who aren't, dedicating time and energy to build resources for other hunters, for other seekers. You know what I mean? So why would I do that? Right. Think about it. Reflect on that for a second, pal.
Yeah.
Like, why would I, I'm not going to, if I'm going to reward anyone, and this is not the case, but it's just, I don't know, it's kind of petty, but, talking about when they email me about, leveraging kids or this is, I'm really, and sure. I understand you might be, and I feel sorry for you. I hate that you're in that boat, but man, I've been in bad boats too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I didn't, I haven't quit. You know what I'm saying? God, man, I gotta get a better lighter. I gotta.
Well, so your hunt is new to me, and it really sparked my interest, and I'll get into why a little later. But for somebody that is just getting into it, the two-part question.
Yeah.
First one, if you're just getting into it, are you at a disadvantage?
No.
And, if, is there a catch up, right? I guess I'm trying to equate it with, if you any of these other hunts, you have a book, you have a couple FAQs and you're ready, with yours.
Well, I will tell you, Eric, I'll stop you right there. I'll tell you that this is probably the most documented hunt that's out there. There are more tools and resources available to searchers on this hunt than any other hunt that's out there. I mean, small, large, it doesn't matter. Look, the community that's been built around this, which again, when I'm developing this in my mind, I have a thought of like, okay, well, I'm going to build this organically, and organically people are going to come, they're going to be interested in it, right? Of course, I have to build something for people to be interested in it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It has to be built. If I did a crappy job building it, well, they wouldn't be interested. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be interesting, right? But so that was the onus on me to make sure that I build something interesting, right?
So now with everything that's out there, is everything that's out there needed, or are you can and if I overstep on a question,
no, you're not.
Let me know, because I don't know what questions are on.
I think if you're going to solve anything, you need all the pieces, right? Mm-hmm. No matter what. I don't care what Justin says or Forrest said or anybody says. You're not going to just find it from the poem, right? Jack didn't just find, Forrest's treasure just from the poem. And I think we all know that, right? None of us are naive. You know what I mean? John, to his credit, said, hey, all you got to do is buy my book. And, there's a treasure out there for you, So, he told you what you got to do. Now, there's a whole lot of information smacked into those 200 pages, right?
Yeah.
And, what I'll tell you is, Eric, is that we built this game, and as the game gets built out, first two levels really are the ones that'll be archived, right? Because once level 3 comes, it's a world almost.
Yeah.
It's a world all into itself, right? And then I have developers working on, not myself. You know what I mean? Now they don't know where the trove is or anything like that. But in the end, that archive of things, I tell people all the time, all you ever needed was level 1, because I had to put everything. It took me a year to build level 1. Okay. Mm-hmm. And everything that was in it everything that is there is as stated, and people are starting to realize there's more than meets the eye, right? And but the great thing about this hunt is like I said, in my mind, I thought, okay, well, a community will come on board, right? Somehow, some way, maybe through Cal Lazars, or and then you guys have popped up over time, over this last year, right? Again, you didn't exist when I'm thinking of this, right? So don't take offense like what I'm saying.
No, not at all. None taken.
And I wasn't really certain how that community would kind of come together, whether it be like Reddit. That's really something I knew at the time. But now, with Discord, that's really where it's come together, right? And the resources that have been built by those community members are incredible. I would say it's the most, and the honest truth is, it's the smallest search zone. Smallest search zone. I mean, yeah, it's 3 states between the 30th and 35th parallel, but that's not 30 states.
Right. And I did look on the map, and it's New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Texas, right? Yeah. Now, is there how do I put this? So is all the stuff that is relevant, but maybe not as in fine detail, to locate your treasure out there already, or is it yet to be written? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's definitely all there in level 1.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I understood that correctly.
Yep.
I'm trying to absorb it all because, there's a lot on there, and it's really, really good stuff. But for me to process it myself, just the way I think, I have to sort of walk through it. And that's one of the reasons why I had you on, selfishly.
Awesome. Right? No, that's fine. Yeah. So you go to treasurequestsecrets.com, and you can run through level 1 all the way through level 2. You have the current game state, and everything that's ever been published is on there. And then, of course, you can go to the current game state. And then also, there are side quests along the way, and all this other stuff that we have layers to the game. Now, the side quests may not necessarily be like clues to the game or even hints or even echoes, but just ways that I can, give more money away, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's very generous, and they're really nice. I have played pinball.
Oh, nice.
I got a little frustrated because I tried doing my phone. Now I do run a Mac, but you had mentioned something about PC. I believe they run on Apple products, right?
Yeah. Well, when I say PC, I mean it's personal computer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But I did like, and I played one that was briefly where, well, I didn't really play it. I tried to load it, but I also saw the movie. Is that level 2, right?
Yep. Man, so that's first boss. Yep. And they got released. Yep.
Yeah. So this really sparked my eye, and I'm going to hold myself accountable by saying I'm going to enter that. I will have a short film done by March 26th, which is actually my son's birthday.
Nice.
Or no, I'm sorry. March
the 21st.
Yeah. June 26th. But anyway, my son's watching. I'm sorry.
That's right.
But yeah, I'm going to do that. And tell me about what you had mentioned that you used to take camcorder, make film, right, when you're younger.
Yep.
And that's incredible.
Yeah, no, yeah, oh, absolutely. Like, to be clear, I was older. Like we had the JCB, like the flip out thing. Yeah. I wasn't younger. We never had the resources to have a personal home camcorder. Okay.
Right.
But as I was older, and I was working at a lumberyard actually at the time, and Foxworth and Galbraith right there in Paris, rest in peace. Home Depot shuts down. Still no hard feelings, I guess. But I would still be working there probably, to be honest with you. My life would have totally went in a whole different direction had that place stayed open. But so I bought myself this camcorder, and I convinced all these big burly guys to let's make short films, okay? And
Yeah.
my buddy that I went to high school with, Jeremy, he also worked there. We were the yard foremans.
Sure.
When he was technically the yard foreman, I was like second in charge, or whatever you want to call it. I don't even know what to call it. I didn't have a title per se, but I made the most money. That's what's weird.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, but in the end, yeah, so I was like, okay. So during some downtime, we take this little camera out, and it had like a little self-editing capability on the camera.
Sure.
So like phase in and fades out, and you can like type little screen things in there. And so we would do these old Bruce Lee things, you know what I mean?
Nice.
Yeah, so like Jeremy would do all the action, and I would do all the voiceover. He would like lip it, and then I would like say it.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Yeah. So yeah, and I mean, I'm talking about he wasn't like super big and burly or anything, but then we got like the old guy Jesse, rest in peace. He was the older black man who'd been dealing in lumber since he was like 18 years old. 18 years old, like he was by far one of the greatest men I ever met in my whole life, actually.
Yeah.
Just an incredible guy. Never took a day off. I think at the end there, when they sold to Home Depot, I want to say he had 1,000 vacation days.
Whoa. Just work.
300 and some days. 300 and some days. 300 and some days, actually. I said 1,000. 300 and some days of vacation he had put up. Yeah, it was insane. Like he had years. You know what I mean? Yeah, he never took a day off. He just was a hard worker, and he'd tell me stories. This old black man, he had like a little toothpick. He'd be like spinning around.
Yeah.
And he would tell me, because we had, the little things that spin on top of the house that, for an attic vent.
Yeah.
They're called Whirlybird. There's a brand that's called Whirlybird.
Okay.
And so he'd come around, he'd be like, "Oh, hey, Whirlybird, Whirlybird." That's what he called me, Whirlybird.
Yeah.
What are you doing over here, Whirlybird?
That's great.
Pick a number or whatever, because that was my primary job, was like to put orders together.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, Whirlybird," And one time I walked up on him peeing, because he used to go pee at the old shed, and his hat whooped out, and I'm like, "Oh man, oh Jesse." He goes, "Oh, Whirlybird, you ain't never seen one of these before." Oh, Whirlybird.
That's great.
He was the best, man. And so just characters like that really poured into me, and we were able to get him on film too. I tried to locate that old camcorder in our last move. We moved a month since COVID. My wife does anesthesia. So as you can imagine, airway specialists have been needed a lot since then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really kind of caused us to bounce around like that old pinball machine. But yeah, anyways, yeah. So Jesse Foxworth, man, rest in peace. Good times, man. Yeah. So yeah. But as far as the movie quest goes, yeah, there'll be parts of this hunt that aren't necessarily clues, like I say, clues or hints or echoes even.
Right.
Hunt. They're just for me personally, a way, again, when I was designing this in my mind, I wanted to think about how I could bring more people to treasure hunting, right?
Mm-hmm.
As you look at the communities that are out there, the biggest one is Mysterious Writings, and she has about 12,000.
Yeah. Yeah. Jenny's an amazing woman. Yeah. I got to meet her at a meet and greet.
Super cool lady. But my point is that to me, there has to be more than 12,000 people who really like treasure hunting.
Yeah.
Right. And so what I've been trying to do is, develop ideas to be side quests that would, bring in different types of people into treasure hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you're a filmmaker out there, the prize, the gift, is actually in very much online and on par with some of the larger, showcases out there. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, $3,000 to first place is pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nothing to sneeze at.
Exactly. 1,500 to, the community's, pick. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
So I think this year we'll probably have 3 to 10. I think if the hunt is still going on next year, we'll have more, just because people, will realize, hey, this is real. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I've been paid. It's very much was a fair thing. you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
have some credibility, I guess is probably the right word.
So when you say if it's still going on, do you anticipate it not going on, or is there something that would cause it to stop?
Oh, well, I mean, it's like, no, I'm talking about the hunt. Somebody
Yeah.
finds a crow. Well,
Oh,
then,
okay. Yeah.
well,
I get
it's
you. Yeah. Okay. I
kind of
understand what
like,
you're
and
saying.
I've gone back and forth in my mind what to do, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so we have probably about 250,000 I've allocated to give away through this 15 years, and
Oh, nice.
I'm running way over budget right now. I mean, I've already given like 20 grand already. Um, with another, I mean, even in the short come 10 grand to come in the next month, really.
Yeah. Now
Um,
with the video, I mean, that's very generous of you, Chad.
yeah.
And with the video, what I read a little bit of it. I just got so excited. I stopped reading. I said I'm going to do it. But can you tell me about the theme of what
Wait,
of the video that needs to be?
yeah, no. So, Echoes of the Key is what it is, right? And so, when you go read a description, it's going to give you a really good base. You can use any genre of film that you want, from sci-fi to horror to comedy to whatever.
Mhm.
It's basically you need to build something around treasure hunting,
Both
right?
metaphorical and real, or
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Both they can be both metaphor and real, but I mean, as described, you just can't use more than 15% of AI. Okay,
yeah,
so I really want people to, and what I think is interesting is yes, there are definitely real filmmakers out there, film students and stuff like that, but and they might end up winning or whatever. But in the end, like the community favorite is the one to really leverage. If you're out there and you're a treasure hunter and you have any sort of passion for making short films with your family, I would do it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because
oh yeah.
I mean, you can rally your Facebook friends and all those
Well,
things to really get the
then
vote.
you may discover you have a skill you knew you'd never had. I
Correct.
like with this. I mean, honestly, Chad, before I did this channel, I made one video at my old job, safety training video. I do, safety is my profession. I'm a certified safety professional, and
Oh, I see.
so the only really experience I had with Final Cut Pro, and I learned as I went. I downloaded it, I bought it because it wasn't subscription based,
Nice.
and I put together. It took me like 6 months to put together like a 20-minute safety video. And so everything I've done, if you look back at my like original videos to now, is learning as I go, and I found I really enjoy it.
That's
It's a
awesome.
creative outlet
Love it.
for me. And so if my I guess my point is try it. Try it. You may even win, because
Yeah.
it's not, if I read correctly, it's not all weighted on you know
No,
producing,
it's not.
right?
No,
It's
it's
you
not
don't
at
have to
all.
have high-tech equipment. You don't
No,
have
it's
to
not at
have.
all. So what's going to end up happening is like, you know, with this year especially, it won't even matter. Like they'll just all be up.
Mhm.
Um, for everybody. Now, if we get to a time where there's like a lot, and then, I've already have in my mind, hey, because I have a lot of film buddies, I guess I would say is probably the right way. And
Yeah.
I have a really good friend who does documentaries, and he was the one who kind of helped me out with like the guidelines, if you will, for kind of the scope of what
Yeah.
to submit. Um, but yeah, man, no, I think that if you're out there and, you look, creativity comes across
Many
like
different ways,
many
right?
different ways. Exactly.
I mean, a good example is Twilight Zone movies, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're the most, well, I grew up watching Twilight Zone movies. It wasn't blood and guts. It wasn't high tech
Nope.
cameras. It was really, I mean, the acting was questionable on some of them, and
Yeah,
I
for
mean
sure.
that with all due respect to them.
Yeah,
But the
exactly.
writing was phenomenal,
Yep.
right? I mean, you could, it would scare the out of you just by by implying things, right?
Right.
So
Yeah. And then write music right behind it, so.
yeah, right.
Mm.
But I also like your aspect of your old 80s video game. I grew up, I still have not the original one, but I have a Magnavox Odyssey. I have
Oh, wow.
Atari 2600, and I
Wow.
also have a ColecoVision. All of
Oh,
which I didn't have an Atari growing up because they were really expensive. Well, ColecoVision was too, but I guess we got that instead over time. And my friend had an Intellivision. So I grew up with all those games. And the funny thing about the Odyssey is, my wife Laura, her two daughters are software engineers, and I always show it to them, I get a kick out of it. I have a program or a book that came with it and how to code on this thing.
yep.
And you have something from late 70s with a keyboard with a little touchpad on it, and as a book with basic coding. And you
Correct.
read through it, it's like this is stuff they teach in college still, the fundamentals of it, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, I tell that story actually. We didn't have an Odyssey. Someone had gotten my mom an actual personal computer for work or somehow, we had this computer in our house. Like, I might not have had. So my mom worked at Goodwill, so I might not have had the whole toy, but I had some toys. I might have had the Godzilla, but it was missing the punching arm. Then, I might have had He-Man, but he was only right-handed. You know what I'm saying? So I got a lot of Goodwill toys growing up. But
yeah,
somehow we got this computer. I still don't know exactly how we got it, but it had the same thing. It had in the back of the book. Now I couldn't read to save my life, but I could see characters, right? And so I see on the keyboard characters, and I'm matching this character over here, and I can see what the end result's going to be, right? So I can visualize all these
yeah,
things. Yeah. So I built. It was like a little game where like the dot would go, and then like you would try to pass through the gate. You know what I mean? It was a very simple game, but like it would change, as it came across, and it wasn't Pong, but you had to like move it through the gate, yeah, anyways, yeah, definitely, for sure.
So I also had we had a Tandy 1000 EX, and I helped my mom make flyers. She worked at a deli and a bakery.
Oh, wow.
And I helped her make sales flyers on it. But I also played a game called King's Quest, which had multiple discs used, and you had to go to things and you had to map out the whole kingdom and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of games I grew up with and I see in yours. Is this something that could help in some of your
I think it helps I think it helps you understand the game, right? Because again, it really is an online game with a real world trope.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, you're trying to put together pieces, of the puzzle that help you get to the end, right? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it's a living game. So as people come on the board, the game shifts and changes, right?
Yeah.
Because their input makes me shift and change.
Yeah.
It's not stagnant. It's not, like I said, it's not a book, which is, one and done, really. It's printed and it's done,
Yeah.
This is very much a living organism that will change over time. So really, when you enter the kingdom, like you're talking about, you're not just inserting that disc and loading the kingdom, all that was programmed. In all honesty, you're helping to change the game.
Okay. I think I understand that.
Yeah. And so I know it's not really that deep, but like some people think, oh man, that's a lot. And I get it. And I don't think the game is for those people, right? And that's okay. Like, I can't, not everybody's going to hunt for JCBs or Justins or all these other rights. You know what I mean? They have a passion for the one they want to be a part of. And I'm just trying to create something that like I say, is unique to me. And very much a quest, very much a, real life, as close as I can get currently. We're not in Web3 yet. So as close as I can get to like kind of recreating those Ready Player One vibes and
Yeah.
those even D&D vibes. I've never played D&D, but it's very much a lot of the same, right? I mean, like somebody comes onto the board magically, and then all of a sudden the whole thing changed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, this is the arc that this game is built on is not new per se, but I would say it's kind of new for treasure hunting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's really, I enjoy the little I know already about it, and I will be diving in and I may even dedicate an extra video here and there on this because like I said, although we do stick with our normal scheduling, I still have other, I enjoy making videos. And when I'm not making a video, you ask my wife, I'm just sitting there like, just fidgeting, wanting to make something. And I was like, what better way to, to add to this show than to, showcase people that I think the community should know, like yourself. And I had some other guests on, but even throw some videos out there and, help along some of the other treasure hunters, because we're a big community here. Right. What I've learned through this channel is I've made, I said this a million times, but I don't have a lot of friends. Some of it's by design, right?
Yeah.
But the majority of the ones I've met is through this whole experience, through this channel, through the meet and greets, and hopefully the Treasure Con coming out. And people, like you coming on the show. So, I really appreciate that. But these side quests, these are like, I would have to say they're sort of like the intermission, right? Where you get up, stretch your legs a little bit, have some fun, get a snack, and come back down for the movie, which is the treasure hunt, right? Is that a pretty good way to?
They're kind of time sucks, right? Because 15 years is a long time. So for anybody that's out there, no matter what, this hunt will be solved in 15 years. Because I have with the trove, I always want to try to say buried, but it's not buried. So, but if you think about it, it is, because it's inside of a geode. So, no, but anyway, so within the geode are these 5 keys. And over the course of 15 years, one of those keys will drop, right? So in 5 years from my birthday, so on 2030, September the 15th, 2030, the first key drops. Then 4 years later, the next key. 3 years later, the next key. 2 years later, the next key. And 1 year later, the final key. So it's a Shamiri's Sigurd sharing powered by 5. So it's 5 by 5. So you need all 5 keys to, decrypt. And whenever you do that, it basically tells you where it's at, right? So it gives all the descriptions of where it is. So then at that point, it's pretty much just a foot race.
So, pardon me for interrupting you, but so you said your treasure's hidden inside a geode. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you said there's 5 keys in the geode?
Yeah. Yep.
So to find it, you need the 5 keys to drop. Maybe I'm...
No. They're just a backstop. So, but they're in there as like a verification, a self-verification, because when you find it, you'll then have all 5 keys with you, right? Because you found it. And so then you can go decrypt it and be like, oh yeah, it really was here all the time, because here it is. It's described exactly.
And what is the I guess, pardon for the lack of better description, the treasure then is the...
Oh, well, no, the treasure is crypto, but
okay.
proxy. But
okay, that makes sense now. Yeah,
the keys are also in there with it.
Okay, so the keys that open it up. Okay, I got it.
You can go with confidence. Hey, this really was here the whole time.
Okay. You know what I mean? Yeah, now it makes sense.
Yeah, and then in 5 years, when that first key drops, well, then that first key will be public, right? So then if someone finds it year 6, well, everyone should see that first key on the piece of paper and the USB and the little piece of steel it is written on. Yeah.
No, I get it now. You know what I mean? I get it. It takes, like I said, it takes me a little bit to go, and that's why was like, if I'm going to understand this, I'm going to have the man himself on here. And he's going to walk me through it. So let's see, since, I'm new to this and it's first time on the show, do you have any spoilers or clues, special ones you want to showcase? And you don't have to, but anything that you want to?
Yeah, I mean, with regard to the hunt currently, right now, they're working hard to figure things out. They figured a couple things out in the last 2 weeks, which pretty powerful things. Now realize in my mind, I have what's called hints. Well, I have echoes and then hints and then clues, right? So echo kind of leads you to hints, and you compile hints, you put them together, and then they give you a clue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in the last couple of weeks, they found a clue, which is pretty cool, which was accessible there on the Treasure Quest Big Brains, the Discord there, and so I would encourage anybody who's really interested in it, how if they want to really find out, I would encourage them to join that.
And I'll put a link up to the Discord as well. Yeah. And everything that you will need will be in that Discord.
Oh yeah, because listen, if you need your hand held, they'll hold it, because because there are a lot of smart people there, right? At the same time, they're like, the community, as they've kind of called it, is like the Kaka chill zone. So like every time I come in, because my last name is Bird.
Yeah.
So this one hunter, his name was Rob Zill, I think is his username. And when I used to come on K-Pro and Mike's show, and whenever I'd come in the chat or maybe super chat or whatever, he would always say Kaka, like Kaka, like in the text. Yeah. So that is stuck. So there's no unsticking that, you know what I'm saying? So but it's a chill zone. It's nobody I think most people understand what a rooster is or whatever else like that, within the hunt communities. There really aren't a lot of that, right? I think, again, though, like attracts like, right? So I feel like, for example, if you were to join the community, you would, quickly, assimilate, right? You know what I mean? I think that's probably one of the things that kind of put people off to the hunt. It's like, well, I'm not really that nerdy, or, I don't really get down with what he's doing. And that's okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's funny that I just thought of this now when you said your last name, and I know your last name because I hear it all the time, but my grandmother's maiden name was Bird.
Like B-I-R-D?
I believe so. She was born in England. She came over during the war.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, wait a minute. As I heard you say that, it's sort of this triggered that. And I was like, oh, wow. It's interesting.
For sure.
So that, and also on the website, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Treasure Quest Secrets is probably the best place to go, and that's Treasure. So Treasure is a hard wallet, is a known hard wallet, right? So I did check to make sure, that I could use it here in the States. It doesn't have a copyright or anything. So because it's the actual word, but it is a known hard wallet, right? So this is a crypto hunt, so it made sense to do Treasure. So
it's TREZOR questsecrets.com.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where I would tell people to begin at this point.
Okay. Well, I'm going to do that after I get this video edited and put out.
Nice.
And I'll put a link in the description for it too. Right. So any final, words to everybody? I
think the best final words to people are always be good.
Yeah.
My papa used to tell me that, right, before he died. I lived with him for about 7 months there up to the end. And, he never said my name right, ever. He always called me Shad. He was a big fisherman.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Shad, ever, not one time. And I'm the one with the speech impediment, right? But he always called me Shad. But he also called me Boy, right? So I was always Boy. He's like, oh, boy, all right, well, I give him a hug, and he said, boy, all right, well, be good. Every day I left the house, be good,
Yeah.
So I think that's really the message. Just be good.
Yeah.
As far as treasure hunting goes, look, I'm a treasure hunter by heart. So, I'm still actively looking for Justins for fun. I think, I spent like a good amount of time this year looking for his trove. But yeah, it's just for fun. It's fun. I mean,
Right.
naturally, I mean, I love treasure hunting, you know?
Yeah.
So it's been awesome to see the community build around it. One doesn't know if it's going to be built around, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, you can make something and build something and, you know, nobody comes. I mean, you don't always get your shoeless Joe Jackson, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but I'm really proud of the people who coalesced around this game and this hunt, and I can't speak enough positive words about that community.
Yeah, speaking of community, you know, I started off with a hunt on JCBs, and now I've met so many amazing people in this community, and they've been so welcoming to me. And I was able to meet you and as well as others, and I'm very grateful for that. So,
Yeah.
Chad, thank you so much for coming on the show, and I hope everybody enjoys it. And we'll see everybody soon. Thank you.
See you guys.